Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the House of Black podcast. It's your favorite cat-eared extraordinaire. It's weird that I'm doing this intro again because I'm recording this not on my phone. I'm easily able to do this on my phone, but I'm not doing it on my phone for the first time ever. Today is the 17th of June, 2023. By the time that this episode is up, the Warner Brothers film The Flash is in theaters, starring Ezra Miller, along with Michael Keaton, who will be reprising his role for the first time in years as Batman. The last time we had seen Michael Keaton as Batman was in 1992, when he played Batman for the last time in Batman Returns. The reason why I'm bringing this up in the sense of it is I'm pretty sure I've mentioned in previous episodes about my love and admiration for Batman. Specifically, if you've followed me on my TikTok and my other social media, you probably have known that if I had to choose a favorite actor who has portrayed Batman, it is, of course, Michael Keaton. Keaton's Batman is my Batman. Just like Tennant is my Doctor variation for Doctor Who. Toby is my Spider-Man for the Spider World. The same analogy situation. Certain actors who have played a character, a version of that character, is usually the same case of it for me. And when it came to Keaton, he was my Batman. I have VHS copies of both of his movies as Batman. I have Blu-ray copies of the movies. I have digital copies of the movie. I have the soundtrack for the movies. So his Batman was the Batman that I was admiring growing up. That made me love Batman. That made me admiration for the comic book character in general and the franchise of the character in general. Now, technically, I know that a lot of people know that this movie, The Flash, has a bit of a controversy in the situation. And that controversy is the lead actor, Ezra Miller. There have been a few moments, a lot of people have known that there has been many situations that Ezra Miller, unfortunately, has been in some trouble, mental health-wise, and a lot of controversy because he has done unfortunately a few public situations that has happened. Not allegations. I try not to say that we're allegations because it is confirmed. Excuse me. It is known that he has been in trouble with the law a few times, assault, and physical violence, as well as many moments of assaulting a fan, abuse to several people, which is why a lot of people have made a sort of standoff in this movie. Some people are still seeing the movie despite that. Some people are, despite his certain criminal situations. Some people are debating about whether to separate the actor, the art from the artist. And some people are still seeing the movie despite the fact of Ezra Miller's situations with the law. My situation, however, is the debate on whether or not this movie is worthy to me to see because of not Ezra Miller, but because of the fact of Keaton's performance. Because this movie, to me, is the closest that we will have of a returning Batman film with Keaton in it. And that is what has my attention. I was in a debate on whether or not I would see this movie because the fact that on one end, I don't support Ezra Miller. I do not. The situations and the crimes that he has done, the assaults that he has done, the actions that he has done are unforgivable and unredeemable. And they are things that I say professionally should have him barred from performance. No different than any other actor who has done any violations, sexual assault in general, abuse, racism, homophobia. It doesn't matter what those crimes are. The moment you, as an actor with that privileged situation, you deserve nothing. You don't deserve any situation in that sense of it. And personally, if it was up to me, I would tell the people at DC Studios and Warner Brothers no longer associate themselves and recast this actor. And I don't want to support this movie and Urza by supporting this movie by paying to see this movie, which is why I have not gone to see it. However, at one point, my brother, who is a comic book fan, was still in talks to see the film himself. If it wasn't for a car incident with his situation personally, with car trouble, because I can't drive and I do not have a means of transportation, my brother had offered to pay for me to go see the movie with him. Now, that has now changed because of the fact that you provide transportation to go and have me drive with him to see the film. However, my only debate at the time was whether I should see it still, but see it for the fact that Keaton was my Batman, and it's a character and the actor who has performed this character has more of a sentiment for me, or if I'm seeing this and I'm ending up not realizing that I'm supporting Ezra Miller and despite his actions, his situations of his legal actions that he has done, his illegal actions. And it was a mental debate I had to took myself into. So at that time, that was the only debate. When I saw the first trailer for this movie, I won't lie, I teared up. In fact, you can see the video on my TikTok. I teared up a lot, because again, this character and this movie has a sentiment for me. As a person on the spectrum, we have a tendency to have a connection with many things that would make us feel emotionally connected, as well as mentally attached to. It's our safety net. No different than, I tell people, metaphorically, it's no different than Linus and his safety blanket. No different than that. Or like the whole typical typecasting in Hollywood with a person who's mentally disabled has to wear a helmet, a football helmet, even though they don't play football. It's sort of that analogy sense of it. My attachment is Batman, the character, the medium in general. So anything that has any reference to the Dark Knight would be connected to it. However, as I also stated, there are certain things of the world and his world of the Batman, of this character, stories, movies, certain medium that I don't all attach to when it comes to Batman. There have been many stories in the comic book world of Batman that I don't agree with. There are many moments in actions that Bruce has done, the character Bruce Wayne has done, that I don't agree with. For example, there was a story that just recently came out for comic books in DC called The Brave and the Bold, which of Batman story on the Brave and the Bold story, which involved a young black girl having a conversation with the Joker, and it ended up with the situation where the Joker had a normal conversation with her. The Joker ends up killing her parents in front of her and then kills the child. And the reason why he got away with this murder was because Batman was working on fighting another criminal. And a lot of people are not okay with that story. And personally, I can understand the rage on that, because it's not something I would agree with, which is why I didn't buy the book. I read the book, but I refused to buy that book, because there are certain stories and the character's actions that I don't agree with. This is one of them. So it's not always defending Batman's actions. There have been moments where Batman has done things that are not okay. Another story I remember is Batman Venom, where Bruce ends up taking the Venom drug that is taken by Bane, and he ends up becoming an addict to the point where while he gains superhuman abilities and senses, he ends up in a drug-induced madness of insanity. Like to one point where he ends up fighting a shark, like a fist fight with a shark. That story interested me from a perspective of showing the damage of Bruce, but at the same time, it's just sad to see him become more of a madness of a monster of a character for him in that book. So it's sort of a toss-up with that character. But the book had interested me from that perspective. So with that book in particular, that was one of the things for the character that I really found interesting, because it just shows the faulty in the character, and that's what I want people to understand when it comes to this character. But as I said before, there have been many moments where Bruce has done actions that I do not particularly approve of, that I don't agree with, that I don't find that's okay, and it's completely fine to do that. There's certain versions of Batman that I'm not okay with, aside from liking the Burton movies and Keaton's Batman. Clooney, for example, George Clooney's version of Batman from Batman and Robin was not an okay character in his performance in that sense of it. The fact of, while I do believe Kevin Conroy is the superior voice actor of Batman, it was hard for me to take in the account of other actors playing Batman, whether it's Bruce Greenwood or Sean O'Hare or the names I can't even get the names right of anything. But the point being is, the characters when it comes to Batman, it's like I said, it's not always you're going to agree with every of the characters in that case of it for Batman. So sometimes you have to roll with the punches on that. In this case, back to the main subject of it, I was questioning myself about this movie of The Flash, whether or not to see it, because I do like The Flash, I do. And at one point, I loved Urza's performance as the Flash until the controversy started coming out about his recent illegal actions. And that's when it came to the point where I couldn't find myself supporting that at all. So, thanks to this unfortunate mishap, I will not be seeing the Flash film in theaters or be putting money into it. However, it will come to a point that I will see the movie when it's released digitally or in digital media or other physical media, and see the movie for the fact of, again, seeing the performance that Michael Keaton has done as Batman. Of course, I still believe the better solution, and what would have been amazing, would have been the fact that Michael Keaton had also performed as Batman in the Batgirl movie that will never see the light of day, because DC and because Warner Brothers executives believed that the movie would not fit into the market for success in box offices. I believe that was the statement that they made, which is complete and utter bullshit. And I'm hoping DC listens to this, because you guys made a terrible mistake in canceling this movie. First off, to have Batgirl played by a woman of color, Leslie Grace, an Hispanic actress, to play Batgirl would have been amazing. The fact that the character's look was inspired by the Burnside account of the DC comic books, which is my favorite variation of her costume. Nothing against the earlier versions of her, including Gail Simone's run of Batgirl, but Burnside, that was done by Brandon Taylor, Brendan Fletcher, Babs Tarr, and Cameron Stewart did an amazing job with Batgirl and bringing her for the younger audience again. It was basically like a tween drama sense of it. with Batgirl. And I love that they took that angle of her, because Gale took her to a more adult, darker moments, which was necessary, because these were leading from the events that happened to her in the 52 stories of her being crippled by the Joker because of the events of the Killing Joke. So she took her to a very dark moment. But to bring her back into the light with this version of her, thanks to Cameron, Brendan, and Babs, with her Burnside run, was an amazing thing. I loved the stories, I loved the characters, I loved the humor in it. It made so much sense. And that version, I believe, was going to be the more superior version that would have been used in the film. And we will never get to see it, because these, and the thing is it was done by the same guys who did Miss Marvel for the MCU. The same men who were responsible for Batgirl are the same minds behind Miss Marvel TV series. Those are the same directors who directed the Batgirl movie. And because DC and because Warner Brothers felt that this movie would not be pitchable or approachable, that to be billed in success, and didn't think that it would bring in a big hit, they decided to can this movie. And it's disappointing that the world will never get to see this, because DC didn't think it would be approachable to sell. But instead, we're seeing a movie that features an actor who has not had allegations, but has been caught for doing illegal actions to innocent people. Physical violence and abuse to several people, including fans. And this man has done several illegal actions, yet he's given a slap on the wrist. They're not even planning to replace him either. And it's disgusting that we have to see this. This is what was the line that made me say if I should still see this movie, was because of people like him or Michael Keaton's performance as Batman. That's why, honestly, if you watch most of the stuff that's been posting on the internet, we're focusing more on him and Sasha Calle's performance as Supergirl in the movie, and less on Ezra Miller, because the recent situations that has happened because of Ezra Miller, it's not wants to be marketing. None. There hasn't been an interview with him. There hasn't been any situations that dealt with him in behind the scenes work. Nothing. Everything has focused on the other two actors, Michael Keaton as Batman and Sasha Calle's performance as Supergirl. And nothing to take away from neither of them in their performances in this movie. Nothing to take away from that. However, it's disappointing that DC and Warner Brothers knows this, and they think that they can try to wipe it aside by saying, we'll just have the other stars focused in this movie and less on the main star, because we know the main star is going to get flagged about. Because they know the moment that Ezra Miller does an interview, they're going to talk about those allegations. Or not allegations, but those illegal actions that he has done for these last few months leading up to this movie. So that's what's disgusting about this situation. And yet we could have had this whole thing nicked if we just had the Batgirl movie released. And again, we would have also had Michael Keaton as Batman in that film, because he has also plays Batman Bruce Wayne in that film as well. So that's what makes this very discerning. Aside from that situation, I do know that that Flash would have been the last movie this year that I would be seeing superhero films in, because many of you probably don't know this, but one of my roommates and myself have realized that there's been too many movies in the superhero genre that's been overswamped recently. And I feel like, if anything, those were, I want to take this time of it. But then again, don't really see a lot of movies often in theaters. A lot of times, I haven't seen John Wick 4 yet, but I really do plan on seeing it. The last film I went to see in theaters was Across the Spider-Verse, and I'll be having a video about. I'll have a podcast episode for that later today. To talk about that, because I feel like I need to talk in detail about that. But I wanted to address about this Flash movie because of the fact that this movie this week it will be mostly focused on the Flash movie, especially because of the angle of Sasha Calle playing the first film Supergirl in the DC universe, as well as the fact of Michael Keaton returning as Batman in this film in particular, which is more of the focus in this movie compared to, like I said, the fact that many of the press has not been able to have an interview or such with Ezra Miller because of the recent situations that happened with him. Oh my goodness. In other news, I said I would talk about wrestling in this podcast, and I'm a man of my word. The reason why I haven't really much talk about it is because I've been so invested on everything else in the wrestling world in a situation. Now, let me just address a few things on the WWE end of things of it for professional wrestling. First off, last night, SmackDown, I will talk about the events of SmackDown. The points that are more important for me. Now remember, I won't talk about entirely SmackDown, but I will talk about certain parts of SmackDown. First of all, I really don't care for Pretty Deadly. I really don't. I look at them no different than La Resistance in the wrestling world. And you can judge me all you want on that, but it's the truth. La Resistance, that's what they are. And I really didn't care much for La Resistance. I really don't. So, them getting the tag team, I knew was going to happen. I hate that we had to squash Hit Row. I hate that we had to squash the Street Profits again. But if it means that they're the challengers for the tag team unified titles with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, then so be it. Shotzi gets a second chance for a chance to be in the Money in the Bank competition against the others, apparently, because Io Sky was eliminated by Zelina Vega. I am loving the fact that Zelina Vega and Santos Escobar of the LWO are getting a push. I'm so loving it. However, Santos beating LA Knight to eliminate him from the Money in the Bank competition, I had a feeling people are going to be very upset with that, because a lot of people like LA Knight, and I do like LA Knight too. I think he's entertaining, he's hilarious, he has that nostalgic feel of bravado that wrestling hasn't had in years, which is why I think a lot of people like him. Not to mention, he's had a big billing when he was on NWA early on, so I knew he was entertaining. The problem is the fact that Santos deserves this, because with how much he has run in NXT was amazing. He needed this. He definitely needs this. I learned, if you have not watched the Out of Character podcast series with Ryan Satin, you should definitely do so, even though I really don't support Ryan Satin for personal reasons. His interview with Santos Escobar is very entertaining. First of all, the fact that Santos is the real mind behind the resurrection of the Latino World Order is genius. Never knew that. But at the same time, it makes sense, because early on, when he was still part of his own faction, Legado del Fantasma, one of the merch items that they were selling was a Latino World Order mock shirt, but it said Legado del Fantasma, but it was designed similar to the Latino World Order. And according to the podcast, Santos said that it was his idea of wanting to resurrect the LWO, because he wanted to show his Hispanic heritage and give it a push for the Latino community in the wrestling world. But Triple H turned him down. But it wasn't until Rey Mysterio's story with his son is what led to the appropriate time for LWO to resurrect it. He said he needed an LWO veteran or a former member of LWO to make it happen. and that person was Rey Mysterio. And I'm glad that happened. And it fits so well. For those who don't know, Santos Escobar is also the son of legendary luchador El Fantasimo, who is a very well-known lucha libre masked wrestler. Very, very historically known. His father is a very known lucha wrestler, which is why, Legado del Fantasimo is his wrestling faction named after that and such. And that's what I realized. It makes complete sense. So Santos doing this with Rey Mysterio is a perfect fit. And the best part about this also is not only Santos getting that push of it, because we need that for Latino wrestlers, but also the addition of Zelina Vega. I'm going to tell you, honestly, I understand Zelina Vega being a heel within her entire career was very entertaining. Whether she was the manager to Andrade or when she was Queen Zelina, I get it. I completely understand it fits her. But I love Babyface Zelina. I love her. She gets to be the nerdy, entertaining, proper wrestler that she gets, and she's the one and she gets to use the whole "you underestimate me" bravado, the one of big things comes in small packages. That's what I love about Zelina. Now, I never knew her history of her wrestling when she was Zelina, when she was in TWA or Impact Wrestling. I didn't know much about her stuff of it when she was Thea Trinidad, which is her real name. I only knew about her as Zelina during her run in NXT. She really didn't have a lot of matches, but she was billed as a heel since the beginning of her NXT run all the way to her pairing with Andrade. But the fact that we get to see this version of her, especially after the events of Backlash against Rhea Ripley, oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. And let me tell you something, I love her gear, her Puerto Rico gear in her match in Backlash against Rhea. I love that gear. I love that gear so goddamn much. So much. I think her gear from her recent gear from LWO, I think her gear recently 10 times better than any of the gear she had early in her wrestling. Any of her wrestling. I think her gear in her recent gear is way better. All that gear looks so freaking dope. Her Demon Slayer gear, her LWO gear, which sort of is lingerie sense of it, but makes sense. And then, of course, her gear when she's for her Puerto Rico flag gear. I love all that gear. And if you watch her episode of Out of Character, she even said herself, it was really hard to do babyface version of her because she's not used to being a babyface. She said, Liv Morgan Liv Morgan makes it easy. It sort of is similar to the mimicking of Alexa Bliss, because Alexa Bliss had that same situation. She first came out as a babyface, and it was hard for her to be a heel, but she became good at it. It's the same mirroring for Zelina Vega when it comes to her being a babyface, because Zelina's like, I'm used to being good being a heel. I can do a heel. I can do a heel very well, but I don't know how to be nice because I'm socially awkward. And it's so good. So good. So I'm happy for her on that. So if anything, I love the fact that she gets to show this side of her in this case of it. And it's so cool to see her evolve to that. But yeah, like her evolution from that to now, I love that. And, it's just, I really hope they still keep this. I really do, because she really deserves that. Not to mention, her husband is badass. I'm a big fan of Malachi Black. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. However, I'm going to miss the red and black that she used to wear in her gear and her hair. I mean, it's not used to being a silver hair person but at least she can wear it well. It's just weird to see that. But at the same time, I love this version of Zelina Vega. So, and then, like I said, I guess her and Adam Cole on the AEW side of it, them playing baby faces, it fits so well with them. They're so likable now, especially since their gaming sides of it makes them easily able to be entertaining from that end of it too. It's so funny. So, aside from that, the appreciation and I loved on that case of it. And then on the other end of that situation, with Shotzi getting a second chance of redemption after that match because of Zelina Vega, because of Damage Control Bayley's involvement in her match against Io Sky. Now, Io Sky wants Bayley to lose her shot by having her fight for it, defending for it, the spot against Shotzi for next week on SmackDown. So now Shotzi gets a second chance to be in the match as well. And I really hope that happens. I'm sorry, people. I'm not a fan of Bayley. I don't like Ding Dong Evil Bayley. I don't. I think it's a terrible character in the sense of it. It's just Mean Girl sense of it. Same way for Cora Jade. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I just don't. So yeah, I can't, if anything. Personally, I think Shotzi has been underrated. But if I had to choose like the top three, or like the four in the sense of it for the wrestling, Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, and Shotzi Blackheart. Those are my four. I get Bianca doesn't even it's not even the same range. I honestly will say that. So that's the honest to gosh truth. Just the fact of, but yeah, and then of course, Ellie, the fact that Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss is out right now because of injuries and Alexa being pregnant. Glad that's not in the situation of the equation, so that makes things even better. I wish I could say something on the AEW end of things of it, because in general, first off, I do love the fact that we no longer have to worry about the era of Jade anymore. I have said to people before, Jade Cargill is too green a wrestler. I don't like Jade Cargill. She's a fine, gorgeous looking woman. No hate on her appearance-wise. Nothing on that. I just hate her gimmick. I hate her promo work. I hate her title run. I think her wrestling moves are terrible. I honestly feel like that. Everything wrestling-wise of her, I don't like. She's a gorgeous woman. Personality outside of her wrestling gimmick is fine too. Her being a nerd herself of it, that's understandable. I just don't like her as the wrestler. I just think it's terrible. And that's my personal opinion about it. It's not somebody I like. Whereas Bianca Belair is the opposite of that. But now that this whole streak situation with her title is done, and Chris Statlander has the title now, I'm so happy for that. But I should have known it was going to come to the point where Taya Valkyrie was going to be the new challenger for the match, and to the point where it's going to be her rivalry against her. So I kind of should have seen that coming. For Taya Valkyrie, I'm happy she gets a major audience now in the AEW format sense of it, but just seeing her as a heel again, I really didn't want that to be a thing of it, because she's too good. And she has a history in wrestling as well for her career. But I understand. It's how stories have to be done. I wish I could say something about Collision, AEW Collision coming up, which by the time this episode comes up, Collision will be coming out. I will be doing an episode mostly about that event for Collision, maybe tomorrow to just give a wrap up about the whole thing, because I'll be watching it tonight. I wish I could make it to the event, but I sadly cannot. So I do know Miro will be in action. They don't say anything on that case of it. I do know that there will be a match between Samoa Joe with the members of Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson and Jay White, the Switchblade, versus FTR and CM Punk, who will be making his return to AEW tonight. I do also know that there are 2 other events in the case of it. They're not to my head right now, but mostly, first of all, the fact that Punk is back. A lot of y'all know how I feel about Punk. Punk is my favorite wrestler replacing Hogan. He's basically filled in the spot that Hogan used to have, because since the recent racial situations that Hogan had expressed, unfortunately, has made me rethink things, because I was a fan of Hogan when I was little. So that's already something I've already known on that. But when it comes to Punk, I have said before, his actions are understandable of what his upset was about. The match, the promo that he had against Hangman Adam Page makes complete sense of his frustration in a sense of it. And on one end, there are some people who are like, you know what, Punk did that because Punk used to do that with other wrestlers themselves too. So it should be he can't get a taste of his own medicine. He can't take it, but he can't dish it out. It's not that. It is anything but that. And that's the thing that upsets me, is the fact that people are forcing that down people's throats in the sense of it, and defending Hangman Adam Page. Since it's been announced about it, like a week, months after the announcement of Collision and the first official match with Punk coming back, there's already been talks. There was already a interview on ESPN with Punk promoting Collision and his return, that apparently during his match with Hangman Adam Page, there was a moment where the coordination of one of his matches, one of his Hangman strikes, injured Punk. Now, most cases, from what I've known in wrestling, most wrestlers have a tendency to say, look, if you do something that was not according to plan in our match, and you take it a little bit personally in that sentiment, I'm going to take it personally and strike back. And so that's what it was with Punk, with his match against Hangman Adam Page. That's what led to the situation that led to his frustration at All Out, that led to the situation with his fight with the Elite, and led to this whole situation that leads to the opening of Collision. And to be honest, I feel like the fact that this whole situation is just to make sure that Punk doesn't work with certain people is just, I just find it so dumb. I really do. Because I'm like, there are certain wrestlers that are doing stuff like this that all the time, and nobody says anything. But someone like Punk, who is more expressive on his thoughts and feelings on things, people end up making a big deal about that. So that's just my personal thing about it. Now, I've defended Punk for many times about that. I have. And I've been quiet a few moments since the brawl at All Out between him and the Elite. At the end of the day, you have to look at it like this, though. Who's writing the checks for Punk? Is it Tony Khan or is it the Elite? Or do they have a say in the check? Because if they say have a say of the check on that, it's going to be the same situation that Punk had with the WWE. The same thing. While he's cool with Vince McMahon, he's not cool with Triple H. That situation. So that's why. I really hope they try to hash this out. I'm not much a big fan of Hangman Adam Page, but I am a fan of the Elite a little bit wise. However, I do like Kenny Omega. And I don't want to see it come to the point where him and Kenny Omega have a distaste for each other. However, I said this many times out loud, but I will say it on the record here. This would not be an issue if Cody Rhodes was part of the AEW executive board. When Cody was in the charge, this whole situation was not a problem at all. It took when him leaving that this whole situation just went downhill. The unuse of the TNT type, the TBS title, the situation with Punk, all this whole mass situation would not even be a problem had Cody Rhodes and Brandi was in charge. But what happened? The moment people started hating on Cody because he didn't turn heel during his run trying to get the TNT title and eliminating himself from getting the AEW Heavyweight Championship is the sole reason why this happened. That's why. And because of that is the reason why. And because of that is the reason why he left. I believe that is the main reason, which made it convenient for his story on currently in the WWE, especially with how things are going between him and the Bloodline. I just hate the fact that this situation with Punk has gotten to what it is, to the point they have to isolate him with the Elite by putting him on another show. That's what I hate about this. This, I wish could be hashed out, but I guess some wrestlers can't do that. And then there are some wrestlers, I guess, who are upset about the whole ESPN interview too because of that situation. So, but again, I'm not a fan of Hangman Page. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan. So I'm going to support Punk. But people have to remember, Punk has always been outspoken. Always. So, with that being said, I will be still watching Collision tonight. By the time this episode is up, Collision will be probably on tonight. And if I decide to do an episode review on Collision, I will let you guys know in advance. I would have done a live stream, but I probably won't because my internet here is a little bit flunky. So I can't really say. If not, I will just probably mention about the FTR CM Punk match against Bullet Club Gold and Samoa Joe match. That will probably be the only match that I will be making much addressment with. So, aside from that, I would like to know from you guys on your thoughts about the whole situation with CM Punk. And then let me know also about the Batman, about the Flash movie. What did you guys think of it? If you went to see it, and is it worth seeing more from Michael Keaton, or is it not even worth it? And it's a skippable movie still because of Ezra Miller's recent actions. So let me guys know. Let me know if after you listen to this episode. Let me know. So that's pretty much it for today's episode. I do also want to let you guys know I'm hoping I will try to keep a regular schedule soon to do episodes of the podcast. Again, I can't guarantee if that'll happen or not because what I'm working with is very flunky. Hopefully, I'll be back with a brand new episode. If you haven't followed me on my social media, know to follow me on Donnie Black and Twitter. And of course, check out my website, Gerard Media, for all your photography needs. With that being said, thank you guys for listening to today's episode on the House of Black podcast. This has been Donnie Black, formerly Yoku Masaki. Hope to talk to you guys soon, and as always, until the next episode, later days.